Hey, good Monday morning. It's John with Break the Board Sports. Go to our website, breaktheboardsports.com. If you could, click that subscribe. We're on here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30-ish on the Eastern time. Always depends on something technical. But hey, great weekend for us in the NFL. College, not so much. Another break even. College has just been really tough for us. But look, NFL had the double unit with the Steelers money line, double unit with the Ravens money line. We were able to get home with the Vikings, able to get home with Viking Steelers teaser. So good things tonight. You got two games on Monday night. Jacksonville Jaguars catching 5.5 at the Buffalo Bills. That's your early one on the doubleheader. 76% of the bets and 73% of the handle going to the way of the Buffalo Bills. On the other hand, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're receiving 24% of the bets, 27% of the handle. Jaguars looking to avoid 0-3. Buffalo, I would assume they're going to try to keep the ball on the ground between Josh Allen and James Cook. But look, I think the play here is the dog with the Jaguars plus the 6. Listen, they could easily be in a much better shape. They blew that game to Miami and the game against the Browns. They blew the game. The thing about the NFL, it has truly been week to week. You can't really get a good read on these teams and which way they're going. But I really do like Jacksonville here plus the 6. Now, look, the other thing is underdogs. I mean, they barked this week. You had the Vikings outright win over the Texans 34-7. So that was a dog outright win. The Eagles an outright dog win. The Denver Broncos an outright dog win. The Green Bay Packers an outright dog win. The New York Giants an outright dog win. Right. The Panthers an outright dog win. So you had 6 and the Rams outright dog win. So the 7 dogs that covered, they also won the game outright. Now, I can't go as far as to say that Jacksonville is going to win this game, but I do think Jacksonville plus the 6 is the play. Buying a half point, laying $1.20, $1.25, depending on where you shop for your shoes. Second game is the Bengals look to avoid 0-2. They're laying 7.5. T. Higgins is going to make a return tonight. I can't lay 7.5. But something that I do really like as I was messing around this morning is I like taking the Cincinnati Bengals tonight and the Dallas Cowboys Thursday night against the New York Giants, even though it's on the road and it's a Thursday game. I like Dallas to bounce back in that one. So if you take Dallas and the Cincinnati Bengals, let me just refresh it here to make sure I give you correct information. You can money line parlay them minus $1.20. So we're going to give that out as a triple unit. Dallas and Bengals minus 120 money line parlay. I think that's the play. So Jags plus the 6 money line parlaying the Bengals and the Cowboys for tonight. Just run through the look ahead for next week. Line's already out. Again, Thursday, we were just talking about that Dallas and Giants. It opened up 7. It's already down to 5. There's actually a couple 4.5s in some spots here. So Dallas, people are out on them. Buy low spot. I think I'll buy on Dallas now. Again, they got all kinds of issues, but I think they respond in New York. Next week, Cincinnati Bengals, as of right now, going into tonight's game, laying 5.5 at the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton will be facing his old team. Carolina got the win there. I think that spells doom for Bryce Young. I think the perfect marriage right now, if you want me to be completely honest, I think Miami and Carolina need to make a trade, right? I'm not saying Andy Dalton's the franchise quarterback of Carolina by no means, but Carolina's going to have to draft another quarterback. Bryce Young, I think, could use a fresh start. Miami, now Skylar Thompson goes down. If you're Miami with all that talent, you cannot roll with Boyles as your quarterback. This thing could spiral out of control quickly for Miami, and I think if it does, you're looking at a total reset there for them. Denver at the Jets. Jets laying 7.5. We'll finally get little Nathaniel Hackett versus Sean Payton. Remember that little squabble in the offseason last year. Now let's see if Rodgers can come in and help his buddy. I love the Jets in a teaser or a money line parlay. Mainly a teaser. Get a 7-point teaser, get him down to a pick. There's plenty of other teams you can put them with. Saints at the Falcons. Falcons laying 1.5. That just moved. It was -1. Falcons laying 1.5 now. The Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Packers up to 3 now. It was on 2 early this morning. It's moved up to 3. I think if Jordan Love plays, the play is definitely the Packers on the money line, minus about $1.50. And then Sam Darnold, he's getting looked at today. What does that do for Minnesota? I still think he'll play, but the Vikings 3-0 going into Green Bay if they have Jordan Love back. Now, if Jordan Love isn't back, I know Malik the Freak has gotten by here the past couple of weeks, but I don't like Malik the Freak against Brian Flores' defense. Brian Flores has Minnesota playing awesome. And I think right now, honestly, if it's not too early, I think NFL Coach of the Year, 100%. You need to talk about some guys, and one is Matt LaFleur. The job he's doing right now with the Green Bay Packers, to get them to 2-1, 2-0 without Jordan Love, really saved their season. Because I was like, man, Jordan Love's out. You got Malik Willis as your backup. This is a really bad spot. Green Bay could get off to a really slow start, and it hurt them because you're in that division with Detroit. Everybody thought Chicago was going to be good. I knew they weren't going to be good. That's turned out exactly like I thought. Caleb Williams is a prima donna. He's very athletic, strong arm, will never be able to play quarterback in the NFL, right? So, but Green Bay has been able to salvage that. I think right now you got to look at Matt LaFleur and be like, man, awesome job to you. Mike Tomlin, again, I took the Steelers 8-1 to win the division before the season. We talked about that, made a clip about it. The Steelers, he's just doing an awesome job with them. Kevin O'Connell of Minnesota. Again, people were like, you're rolling with Sam Darnold. McCarthy goes down the draft pick, but Minnesota's look red hot. But that should be a because Brian Flores just not get enough love and enough credit. One of the best defensive minds in the game of football there for the Vikings. So right now, to me, O'Connell, Mike Tomlin, but Matt LaFleur, the job Matt LaFleur is doing right now is just absolutely incredible. Kudos to him. The Rams are a 2-point dog at the Bears. Listen, go ahead, lay $1.30, buy the point. I don't understand how the Chicago Bears could be favored over anybody. The Rams were just at home and beat Kyle Shanahan, had an amazing comeback without Nakua and Kupp. I don't care who the Rams roll out there. The Bears don't deserve to be a 2-point favorite over anybody. I don't care what the situation is. Rams, one of my favorite plays of the week. Bet it early, because if you do get some news of Cooper Kupp, you're going to lose some points. $1.30 +3 right now with the Rams. Give it to me all day long. I'll take that. Philadelphia Eagles will be laying 2.5 at the Bucs, and there's a lot of injury stuff here for the Eagles. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, what happens with those two? Are they able to go? Is one able to go? So you need to really watch the injury report on that. I'm sure the line will adjust as need be, depending on their availability. But the Eagles, I know they pulled out the win yesterday. Thank God we had them +3. Had them +3 in the Circa Millions as well. Circa Millions was an absolute awesome week in the Circa Millions contest, which was much needed because had really, really struggled. We had the Ravens, let me go back. We on the Friday football contest, 0-3 1-2 in college football, and then in the NFL, we had the Titans, which was a loser. That team stinks. That put us at 2-2. But we had the Ravens was our best bet. That was a winner. The Steelers and the Eagles. So really a 6-2 weekend there. And then on top of that, we had in the Circa Millions, we were able to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which cashed, the Ravens, which cashed, the Eagles, which cashed, the Colts, which cashed, and we had the Titans, which was a loser. So 4-1 in the Circa Millions, much needed there. So really happy about that to have a bounce back week. But again, there's just with the Eagles and the Bucs, I don't really know where these two teams are. The Saints, I like the Saints, but I knew they weren't as good as I thought because I know the Panthers and Dallas aren't any good. So there's a lot of trying to figure out who's what right now. I think right now, like that Atlanta, the Saints game, that's basically a pick 'em, but it's in Atlanta. I think Atlanta has more weapons. I would go with the Falcons in that one. But this Eagles Bucks game, I can't see me betting that game because I don't know what the Eagles are going to do. Nick Sirianni is a train wreck, and Baker Mayfield. Any game that involves Baker Mayfield, I want to run far, far away from. I didn't give it out, but I personally played a teaser yesterday with the Bucks at pick, a 6-pointer. I had them and the Vikings in one, and I'm just like, how could I bet Baker Mayfield? Like, and again, Todd Bowles is the same way. Todd Bowles is a joke, right? So I think you're going to see Tampa fade as the season goes on. If Philly has all their weapons, I think Philly money line is a good play here. Commanders will be at Arizona. Arizona's laying 5. Kyler Murray's looked awesome. I know they fell 20-13 yesterday. I wouldn't bet this game either way, but I will say this: there should be a lot of points. Jalen Daniels has actually played pretty well. I'm interested to see how he plays tonight. Hopefully, he doesn't win the game. But I could see Washington backdoor covering that 7.5. The problem is again, just like Todd Bowles, Dan Quinn is a train wreck as a head coach. Eberflus, a train wreck. Colts head coach. Y'all notice a trend here. It's called defensive coordinators. They shouldn't be head coaches, right? The only one worth a rip is DeMeco Ryan. So, and DeMeco Ryan's to me is top 5-6 coach in the league. And I guess you could throw Tomlin in there. Tomlin was a defensive coach. Tomlin's amazing. But these other jokers, man, I just got nothing for them. The New England Patriots will be at the San Francisco 49ers. This one has ballooned. It went from 8 a couple weeks back when I was looking at it. It's all the way up to -10.5 for San Francisco. I don't think I can lay 10.5, but the Patriots got no shot out there. Browns at Ravens. Ravens laying 1. I'm glad these two teams are playing each other because when I looked at it last night, I just scratched it off the list. First thing, I want nothing to do with either one of these overhyped, overrated teams. I want nothing to do with them. I like Kevin Stefanski, but Deshaun Watson is an absolute disaster. That guy blows, right? And the Raiders, they are what we thought they were, right? Gardner Minshew, he's going to look good one week, bad the next. That defense is porous. What they let Carolina do to him was an absolute joke. I want no parts of the Raiders or the Browns. So the fact that they're playing each other is great. I can just move on. Chiefs at the Chargers. This one, I think the line's way overinflated. Chiefs laying 8.5. I think you got to take the Chargers. I would wait, though, because I don't think it's going to get lower, even if Herbert plays. I could see it even ticking up close to 10. If you get to 9.5, I say lay the half point and take the Chargers plus the 10 if you can get there. I love the Chargers. I love Chargers Jets in a 6-point teaser, taking the Jets down to -1, the Chargers up to plus 14.5. I just like the Chargers here. I think, Kansas City hasn't looked all that great. They haven't been scoring a ton of points either, right? The defense has been phenomenal. But the Chargers, Harbaugh knows how to win games. He's going to run the rock. He's going to pack it in. Defensively, the Chargers are going to play well, right? So I like the Chargers here plus the points. Bills at Ravens, to me, favorite game of the week. When I was looking at it this morning, I was like, kind of like Baltimore money line here, but I want to see how Buffalo plays against the Jags. I think the Ravens could get on a little bit of a roll here. So we'll look at that. Tennessee laying 1 at Miami. I think Tennessee finally gets a win. They'll be 0-3 heading into this one. And as poor as Will Levis is, remember last year, Levis and the Titans went down to Miami and absolutely throttled them. So I like him to go back down there and get another win. I do like the Texans. They're -1. And then other than the Bills, Ravens, maybe the game of the week, Seattle, Mike McDonald, defensive coach. I'll give him that, but they got a lot of weapons, man. Metcalf and Jigba, Lockett. Kenneth Walker was out yesterday, but they got Charbonnet. Seattle's got a lot of talent and can cause a lot of problems. Detroit laying 4, though. I would have to lean Detroit right now. Detroit won a real ugly game yesterday, but their defense really stood up against Kyler Murray. Seattle, 4 is just, I want to see where that number goes. I want to see where the line takes us throughout the week. But Detroit would definitely be the lean. But again, on Monday, these obviously are subject to change. I love the Chargers plus 8.5. I'll roll with the Titans to get off the schneid -1. I love the Jets in any kind of teaser or money line parlay situation. I love the Rams. Again, I don't know how you can favor the Chicago Bears over anybody. And I'll take the Falcons. 2 more games this week. Pittsburgh laying 1.5 at the Indianapolis Colts. I think that may end up being the sucker bet of the week. I think the Steelers are the much better team, but Steelers are going to be everybody's favorite play. So far, everybody's big play, like even in the circa millions, they're down to like 11% of the pool left, right? Because like the top 2 or 3 bets yesterday got killed. So again, the most obvious should be winner. You should just take the points on the other side every week at this point. If you've been doing that, you're like 3-0 every week. And if you had taken the top 3, I think it's something crazy like 8-1. And out of the 8-1, 7 of them have won outright. It's just been nuts. So listen, points matter. Home dogs matter. Again, I've said this for years. NFL games typically come down to the last 5 minutes anyway, right? So not always, but most of them do. There's some kind of, hey, it could go either way, right? Browns, Giants yesterday, either way. Saints, Eagles yesterday, either way. Chiefs, Falcons came right down to the end. So you have these all the time. And points are the way to go, man. So, and the other thing is, it doesn't matter if you check. VSiN does a really nice job. I think they're the best in the business. But you got VSiN, you got Covers, you got a couple other places there that have splits. We give them to you every week here. Those are posted Thursday and Friday, the final splits of where the money's at and all that. I just think you're better off being on the side of the books. Again, they don't build casinos off the public winning. I always say that. College football, running down through some lines. Again, it was a tough week in college football. Going to run down through these lines, look at the week ahead. Thursday night, you'll have Army laying 13.5 at Temple. Friday, Virginia Tech will be catching 17.5 at Miami. Virginia Tech has definitely underachieved. Right now, they're only catching 11% of the bets, 15% of the money, but I like all the returners. Miami had a real tough test the first half against South Florida, and then they stretched their legs out. Cam Ward's absolutely amazing, but right now I like Virginia Tech catching 17.5. I think that's a little too much. I know Virginia Tech just lost at home to Rutgers. I had a money line this weekend, but I'm going to roll back with the castrated turkey Hokies one more time. Washington at Rutgers. Rutgers laying 2.5. No real interest in that one. I think it's a coin flip game, hence the line. Northern Illinois catching 7 at NC State. Be very careful, my friends. I know Northern Illinois is winning to Notre Dame and won. They're going to be the sexy pick, especially after NC State gave up like 1,000 points to Clemson, who seems to be back. But just be careful here. I think this is a spot NC State could cover that 7. Maryland at Indiana. Indiana off to a 4-0 start. Maryland comes in 3-1. Indiana is going to be laying 7 right now. Indiana, again, the overwhelming amount of support. 86% of tickets going to the Hoosiers' way. 83% of the money. Buffalo at Connecticut. Connecticut's going to be laying 5. Money's about split here. Buffalo 54%. Connecticut 46%. UConn getting 83% of the handle, though, and Buffalo only 17%. Nebraska will be laying 9.5 at Purdue. It was 10 this morning. It's all Nebraska money. 89% of the tickets on Nebraska, 93% of the money, yet the line goes down. Don't get sucked in. And by the way, I can't stand that quarterback in Nebraska. He's a tool. But just be very careful laying that many points on the road. Kentucky at Ole Miss. Ole Miss laying 17.5. Kentucky, again, they stood up tough against Georgia and had a little bit of a flat spot yesterday. But now they go on the road to Ole Miss. I got to tell you, I said at the beginning of the year, I put a future in on Jackson Dart for the Heisman 15-1 before it started. I just think Ole Miss, man, is just going to burn through people. I mean, I just really like this Ole Miss team. I actually hope Lane Kiffin stays there. There's been some rumors about him going to Florida. I think he's just best to stay where he's at, man, in Oxford. They'd be in good shape there. Oklahoma State at K-State. Now, Oklahoma State had that fiery comeback. Thank God, because we had them +3. I'd never felt so fortunate to get a push in my life because they really pooped the bed the first half of that game. And then K-State at BYU. I had BYU, should have gave it out. It was just late at night, so I didn't. But BYU +7.5 absolutely rolls K-State. Now K-State comes back to Manhattan. They're laying 6 to Oklahoma State. If I could get a touchdown here, I would take Oklahoma State. I think this game comes down to the very end. This is a very important game. Whoever loses this game probably isn't making the college football playoff unless they run the table, right? Like they would have to run the table, get in the Big 12 championship game, and win that game because a 3-loss team isn't coming out of the Big 12. The SEC is too powerful. The Big 10 people love them to death. You're already going to have an ACC champ. You're going to have a highest rated non-Power 5, right? So, I think this is a huge game, huge game. The loser here is probably out. Me personally, I have very vested interest in Oklahoma State to make the college football playoff. Let's just put it that way. Right now it was a future parlay I put in, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, the only thing in question is can Oklahoma State and Clemson get in? Like if Oklahoma State and Clemson were to get in, y'all might find me on a beach somewhere for the rest of my life. So I'll definitely probably, again, to offset a little bit, who can I put with K-State to that's just a me personal. For play and record keeping purposes, I don't think you can make a play on this game unless you get Oklahoma State catching 7. Then I would have to look at it. South Florida and Tulane, 2 teams that have been battling Power 5 schools the whole year so far. Tulane at home laying 6.5, 90% of the handle going to South Florida, 10% of the handle going to Tulane. Navy coming off their big upset to crush the hearts of Memphis and really crush their chance to get in the playoff. Navy laying 2.5 at UAB, Trent Dilfer squad. This one's an interesting one. And again, this game I'm about to say is a good example of how you have got to quickly erase what happened last week. BYU at Baylor, right? BYU coming off the just smackdown they put on K-State. Baylor losing at Colorado on the Hail Mary. Most people are going to look at it and be like, oh, BYU's number 22 in the country at Baylor. BYU should be the favorite. No, Baylor's the favorite -2.5. And it shows already BYU catching 76% of the ticket count, 24% to Baylor. I'm telling you right now, Baylor money line is the play. Finn and company get across the finish line. Baylor will end up winning this game. Minnesota at Michigan. This one was 10. It's down to 9.5 now. Michigan laying 9.5 against Minnesota at the Big House. Michigan coming off that big win against USC. 88% of the money on Michigan, or 88% of the tickets, 85% of the money. We had Michigan plus the 5 this weekend. Again, I said I didn't really know how much stock you should put into that USC win against LSU, and that never rang more true than this weekend. USC is a good team, but look, Lincoln Riley, rather, of USC. The next time an NFL job comes open, he better go get paid, right? USC it's just going to take them a long time to be able to compete in the Big Ten. They competed hard. I'm not saying that, but like that was Michigan. Can USC beat a Penn State? Probably James Franklin's still the coach. But like when I look at Ohio State and those and Oregon, I don't know if USC is there yet. I like what they're doing. And they really should have won that game. But USC in big games, it just never seems to work out. People may say, well, they beat LSU to start the season. Yeah, I think LSU's overrated, right? LSU stacks a bunch of wins against no good teams, right? Like, okay, you're beating Kentucky, you're beating Vanderbilt in the SEC. Talk to me about Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and now Ole Miss. Talk to me about them. I don't want to hear that you beat Florida. I don't want to hear that you beat Texas A&M. Like, I don't care, right? So that's my feelings on that. James Madison, after putting 70 on North Carolina, again, that was a great game, and I'm glad JMU did that. Not just because they're close to home here, but just to shove it up the ACC commissioner's backside. If you've ever heard the podcast, me and my brother Busted Chops Calling Shots, which is on a little bit of a hiatus right now due to the him being out of the country. But listen, no way in the world that JMU shouldn't be in the ACC. JMU should be in there. Coastal Carolina should be in there. And not just for football reasons. They're good and all. Like, JMU is great in a lot of sports, man. Right? Women's softball, women's basketball, men's basketball now starting to come around. Their lacrosse program is really good. The fact they're not in the ACC is a joke. But they're laying 19 to Ball State. Texas State at Sam Houston. Texas State still a little outside shot to be one of those highest ranked non-power fives, though I think they're out, but some people say they still have a chance. They're laying 8 at Sam Houston State. Eastern Michigan laying 14 at Kent State. Liberty laying 3.5 at App State. Skip down here, a couple other big ones. Colorado at Central Florida. Colorado catching 14.5 at Central Florida and Gus Malzahn's crew. Be interesting to see where that line goes. I know Colorado is going to be the trendy dog this week. So we'll see how that line moves. TCU at Kansas. Obviously, Sonny Dykes getting thrown out of the game against SMU. First time that's happened in a while. Kansas laying 2 here. Kansas is really underachieved, but I like them at home. I like Kansas at home here. You can either lay the 2 or you can lay the $1.30 on the money line, whichever way you want to go. UNLV at home laying 3.5 to Fresno State. Now, look, this is a very big game. Both of these teams have a shot. So UNLV, Fresno State, Boise State, all those teams, one of them's got to get out of the conference undefeated, right? Now, for UNLV, it's very simple. UNLV, now that they beat Kansas, has a 3-game season. Fresno State, which is coming up this weekend, the big game against Boise State, and then they got Syracuse next week coming to UNLV. If UNLV can scratch that and go 3-0, UNLV will end up making the college football playoff, which would be huge for that program, huge for Las Vegas, huge for the whole deal. But 3.5, I don't like. I don't see how you can bet this game. I really think it's a coin flip. With that being said, if you just had to bet it and you're an action junkie, I think you got to take the points and take the 3.5 for Fresno State. Arkansas at Texas A&M. Texas A&M laying 4.5. Louisville at Notre Dame. This one keeps creeping up. Notre Dame was -4. They're up to 5. This one's really tough for me because I really like Notre Dame to win this game. However, I can't lay 5. I don't trust points with Notre Dame. But I do think Notre Dame wins this game. Like I said, I think they can run the table. I haven't been big on Louisville, but Notre Dame is notorious for dropping these big games. I mean, Notre Dame, they're another one. Louisville, Georgia Tech, USC. Florida State's in there, but they stink, right? Those 3 games, Louisville, Georgia Tech, USC, are going to determine the season for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they got to start right now to get one. But listen, if this line keeps creeping up, you got to think about taking Louisville. Right now, I do like Notre Dame to win the game, but obviously I'm not going to lay $2 on a money line. That's just not going to happen. Wisconsin at USC. USC, 79% of the tickets and 86% of the handle. They're at home laying 14.5 to the Badgers. USC, a very physical game. This is the other thing I want to see now out there in the Big Ten. Big Ten's definitely a physical type of brand of football. So I want to see how they respond after the bruises. I actually like Wisconsin here getting the 14.5. I think it's a really good spot for them. Oklahoma, this line was 2. It's up to 3. But I like them on the money line at Auburn. Auburn stinks. They're not going anywhere. Oklahoma made the switch to the quarterback Saturday night, and I feel like it changed their whole season around. Oklahoma's defense is always going to be tough, so we'll see how that goes. North Carolina at Duke. Duke laying 3. Mississippi State at Texas. When did you ever think you'd see an SEC game where it didn't involve Vanderbilt or even with Vanderbilt? And the one SEC team, Texas, number 1 in the country, is laying 38 to another SEC school, right? I just feel like off principle, you got to take Mississippi State. I mean, that's just a wild, Right now, 77% of the tickets, 85% of the handle going to the way of the Longhorns. Stanford at Clemson. Stanford coming off their first win in the ACC, their first game ever as a member of the ACC. Went to the Carrier Dome, crushed my heart with the outright win. Now they're going to Clemson. They're catching 22 at Clemson. Clemson seems to be on a roll now. Clemson's got a really big game next week at Florida State. If Clemson can win out, I mean, them and Miami is where it's looking for the ACC early on here. Iowa State laying 12 at Houston. Ohio State going to Michigan State. Michigan State, I got to say, under Josh Smith, have looked really, really competitive. I really like the job he's doing. I've been down on Michigan State the past couple of years, obviously. Mel Tucker was a joke. D'Antoni at the end of his career wasn't very good. But Michigan State has really put up a lot of fight. Ohio State, they'll be on the road. They're laying 25. I want to see how far this line can move and where it ultimately falls. One of the games I circled that I absolutely like, I just want to dive into it more. I love Illinois catching 17.5 at Penn State. Look, Penn State can't run away from people. Brett Bielema is going to keep that ball on the ground. He's going to chew up clock. He's going to use the defense. And Penn State plays a similar type of ball. I just don't see how Penn State can be laying 17.5 here to the Fighting Illini. So I do like the Illini. The big game of the week, and it's pretty much 50-50 split, Georgia laying 2 at Alabama. I will say this. If you like Georgia -2, play them on the money line. If you like Alabama plus the 2, lay $1.30 and take Alabama plus the 3, right? This is going to be a fun game to watch, man. Like I don't care what you got going on Saturday night. I don't care if you're at a wedding. I don't care. You got to watch this game, right? Georgia, Alabama, and Georgia, Texas. Those are the games you got to watch this year in the regular season. That Ohio State, Oregon, I'm still a believer in that game, right? Penn State, Ohio State, I'm still a believer in that game. Like there's just some games you got to watch, and this is one of them. I plan on being a whole lot of fun. For me, I always say I never like stepping in front of either of these teams. Normally, I wouldn't bet this game. Georgia, though, hasn't lost a regular season game. Their last loss was to Alabama in the SEC championship. I think Georgia avenges that. Now, look, we can go back and forth 8 ways to Sunday, but I like Georgia here to get the win. I already put a bet in on them on the money line. Georgia and Illinois are my favorite 2 plays of the week, and it may be a short card. One thing is I've been giving out a lot of plays, especially in college, and college haven't been doing well. College, I want to keep like 3, just go with my 3 best and try to help people out. Florida State catching 6 at SMU. Florida State, we had them this past weekend. They finally cashed. It was not easy. Now that I got my Florida State win, I'm off of them. Cincinnati at Texas Tech. Texas Tech will be laying 3.5. New Mexico at New Mexico State. I think this is a really interesting game. New Mexico laying 7. There is a couple 7.5s out there. I tend to lean with New Mexico State here in the New Mexico rivalry. I do like New Mexico State, slight lean their way. Air Force laying 3 at Wyoming. Poor Wyoming's just been pathetic this year. And then the last 3 games of the night on Saturday all have ranked opponents in action. Boise State moved up to number 25 in the country. Boise State really has the inside track, right, to be able to get to the college football playoff as one of those non-power 5s. They're at home laying 7. It was 6. It's now popped up to 7 against a really good Washington State team who's played really, really tough. They had to battle through a lot of things. And then they had that really tough game that didn't work out for them against San Jose State there. That one went down to the absolute end of the game, going into overtimes and all that crazy stuff. And San Jose State ultimately, as a 13-point dog, missed the 2-point conversion at the end. Washington State was able to get to 54-52 win. We did give out San Jose State plus 13, so it worked out. But now Washington State's catching 7 on the blue carpet. And I got to tell you, it's either Cougs or nothing, right? You get the Cougs plus 7.5. I think that's amazing value if you can get that. So Cougs definitely the lean there. Arizona's catching 12.5 at Utah. This whole Cam Rising thing, man, I just don't get it. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he trying to get an 8th year? He's trying to be like the only college quarterback to stay in college a decade. Like what? Like, can you play or not, dude? Like, I know Utah was able to get the win without him. Willingham's just an amazing coach, but this Utah team, I mean, they keep dodging bullets, but them laying a ton of points, them laying double digits right now. Even though Utah is one of the toughest places in the country to play, I just don't feel like that's something you can do. You can't lay points right now with Utah over 10. So I'm not going to have a play on the game unless something like if something crazy happened and I don't know, Arizona was catching like, what is it, 12.5 now? If it ballooned up to like 15, okay, I'd take a flyer on Arizona, maybe a little half unit play just out of principle, but you can't really get down on that. Oregon laying 24 at UCLA. I'm never a person that's going to lay 24 on the road, but I fully expect Oregon to blow UCLA out. UCLA played pretty tough down there at LSU. Now they're going back home. Oregon's there waiting on them. Oregon's just head and shoulders a way better team. I think Oregon gets the juices flowing this week. And I expect Oregon to just absolutely pound UCLA. That's, UCLA, I don't know how they can beat. And then UCLA, again, these California teams playing in the Big Ten and really the ACC, like next week, now UCLA was down at LSU. They got to fly back home, get their butts kicked by Oregon. Then they got to fly across the country to Penn State. I mean, UCLA, this could be a really, really rough start for them. So again, Major League Baseball today on the diamond. The Minnesota Twins, all they do is keep losing games. You now have, let me pull it up, make sure I got it right. But I believe now for the wild card, the Yankees have pretty much all but wrapped up the AL East as Baltimore now 6 behind. But Kansas City and Detroit tied for the last 2 playoff spots. Minnesota a game out, Seattle 2 out, Tampa and Boston 4 out. I put a little bet in on Detroit, got them 4-1 to make the playoffs. Actually, shout out to Gil Alexander. He had put that out there, and I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. And they've continued to be hot. The Royals have lost 6 in a row. I don't know what's going on with them. The Minnesota Twins, they fell off. Big series starts tonight. Astros and the Mariners in Houston. Big shot there. As far as National League, Padres, they're 3 up on the Mets. Mets and Arizona tied for the last 2 spots. Braves only 2 out. So those are the only 3 teams left. 2 of them will get in. But the series starts, I believe that's tonight. No, starting tomorrow. Mets Braves are going to go on a 3-game set. So that'll be fun to watch. Phillies, Cubs. Phillies still just trying to get a win or a Mets loss to wrap up the NL East. If they could go ahead and do that, it would make me feel a whole lot better. I got a couple parlays, and all they're waiting on is Phillies to win the NL East, Astros to win the AL West. I got the Astros at a great price when they were down they were like 8 games behind the Mariners in first. So that's going to turn out to be a nice one. And then the D-backs, they got no easy bargain either. They're laying at $1.75 to the San Francisco Giants. Not going to be an easy task for Arizona to get in here. You would think with the Mets and Braves playing each other, if the Mets take 2, they're still going to catch up a game. If the Braves take 2, they're going to still be a game back. So both the Mets and Braves could really benefit, obviously, if the D-backs can lose. Red Sox at the Blue Jays. Tanner Houck gets the call against Chris Bassett. They're in Toronto. Blue Jays -120. Boston Red Sox even money. I still think the Red Sox and Rays are too far back. I think the Mariners 2 out's about it. The Phillies with Nola laying $1.80 at home to the Cubs. I like the Phillies. $1.80 is a really high line, not going to lie. But I like the Phillies to get that win and clinch the NL East tonight. And again, the big series that starts, the Mariners are really going to they would have to sweep Houston to have a legit shot to come back and win this division, but they're still mathematically alive. They'll send Brandon Miller to the mound, 3.06 ERA. Hunter Brown will get the call for the Astros, 3.57 ERA. Astros right now laying $1.35, which has dropped tremendously because when I looked at this thing early this morning, Astros were laying $1.55. So the fact that that's dropped, I was like, yeah, I can't lay $1.55. You get down there $1.30ish. Mariners can't score. Astros can. I think Astros and Phillies are definitely the plays today. I wouldn't mess with the other two games. I'd leave them. I'd leave them alone. WNBA, it was all chalk all the time. They won't get back at it till tomorrow. New York Liberty laying 12.5 to the Atlanta Dream. Seattle Storm will be catching 9 at the Las Vegas Aces. Really hard to bet either one of those. The Fever got pounded. Of course, I didn't think they had a shot against Connecticut. I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan, but I'm also a realist. I think right now, if you can catch it, I've said this, the New York Liberty to win the WNBA championship. Now, it's only plus 125. But again, when you have these futures, take the Liberty and start to put them with some Major League Baseball odds to win the World Series, right? Try to get you a little parlay, maybe even throw in something for, the AFC East football or teams to make the college football playoff. You can do a lot of things there and get pretty exotic. Now, a lot of these teams are laying big points, but I think the Liberty just keep rolling. If you're looking for World Series odds, we'll run through those one last time before we get out of here. Dodgers plus 350, Phillies 4-1, Yankees 4.5-1, Astros 8-1, Orioles 11-1, Guardians 13-1, Padres 13-1. Listen, I'm telling you right now, you should make a future on the San Diego Padres. I like the Padres. Again, when you make a World Series future right now, you're just hoping they get in the World Series. And then if you want, you don't have to, but you put yourself in a situation you can hedge off and still turn a profit. Diamondbacks 23-1, Brewers 24-1. Listen, the Brewers, all they do is win, man. Brewers 24-1, I'd put a flyer on them. And the Mets 32-1, I'd put a flyer on them, right? Tigers 50-1. You may say, John, you've lost your ever-loving mind. Maybe so, but they're the hottest team in baseball. I can't go against the hottest team in baseball. They got the best record in September. What am I going to say? No, it ain't going to be the Orioles. It ain't going to be the Guardians. Dodgers and Yankees, everybody's wanted them. I just don't see it. I mean, listen, I can see a Phillies Tigers. I mean, Tigers got Skubal, they got Olsen. I mean, the Tigers got arms, and again, they're hitting the ball. So, but I would definitely, there's 3 teams I would definitely take a future on. Padres 13-1, Mets 32-1, and Brewers 24-1. That would be my NL way to go. And in the National League, or in the American League rather, I still like the Astros 8-1. Look, if you get an Astros Yankees series, you can hedge off of it, right? But Astros 8-1, I still think they're the better team in the American League, though the Yankees have gotten hot. I can't lie. The Yankees have gotten hot lately. But yeah, look to pair the Liberty with some of those. Again, click that subscribe. BreakTheBoardSports.com. We'll have a new promo out Wednesday. Look forward to seeing y'all. Have a great week of betting. Jaguars +6. Moneyline parlay. Cowboys Thursday night with the Bengals tonight. Let's make some money. Happy handicapping.